So here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders, NFL rookie, quarterback, and certified system breaker, just executed what might go down as the most groundbreaking contractual maneuver in professional sports history. And no, this isn't about a record-shattering bonus or some glittering endorsement package. This isn't about dollars collected. It's about authority seized. Enter the prime equity clause. If you're craving the real story, the kind of gritty, behind-the-scenes shakeup they never show on highlight reels, then hit subscribe. And if you want to watch how this Cleveland Browns quarterback storm unravels, staying tuned is non-negotiable. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than a decorative legal footnote. But peel back the layers and you'll see it's far more than a line in Sanders' contract. It's a line in the sand between the old NFL and the revolution that's coming next. Because Sanders didn't merely sign with the league, he partnered against it, while most rookies are just grateful to make a roster and smile awkwardly through their first post-game presser. Sanders walked into negotiations like he owned the building and walked out with a clause that could shake the very bedrock beneath the NFL's carefully orchestrated empire. This clause guarantees Sanders a percentage, an actual slice, of every stream of revenue generated by his name, image, and likeness. That includes merchandise, sponsorships, broadcasts, commercials, collaborations, content. If the NFL monetizes Shedeur Sanders, then Shedeur Sanders profits directly. Just like that, the league's decades-old stranglehold on player branding went up in flames. Let's put it in perspective. Rookie deals have always been rigid, militaristic in their structure. You get your salary, you get your bonus, you get some media training, then you play the part. The league markets you how they want. The team decides your image. The broadcast cuts your moments. And if you go viral, every dime it generates flows anywhere but back to you. Sanders said, "Not anymore." His clause flips the entire paradigm. No longer is he just an asset for the NFL to exploit to sell jerseys and attract youth engagement. He is his own economic ecosystem. The league doesn't merely employ him, it now owes him. And the numbers are already staggering. His rookie contract, valued at $4.66 million. Respectable. But Sanders has already banked $14 million before his first official start from brand deals, media projects, merch drops, and licensing tied directly to his likeness. Why? Because Sanders isn't simply a player. He's a platform. He commands his YouTube, his Instagram, his Twitch. He rolls out mini docs, behind-the-scenes vlogs, and curated content through his own team of editors and strategists. He doesn't need the NFL to narrate his story. He's telling it himself in real time to millions of engaged followers. And yes, his brother is integral to this empire. This isn't just Shedeur shining solo. It's a family-built media machine, one that outproduces half the NFL's official channels. It feels authentic, modern, fluent in the language of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and it sells. His jersey sales alone, over $250 million in revenue. Let that marinate. A single rookie quarterback generating $250 million in merch. And with the prime equity clause, that isn't just league profit. It's Sanders' income. This is why NFL executives are quietly panicking. Because this isn't just a payday, it's a power shift. And power in the NFL has always belonged to the Shield. The entire system was built so the league dictates the story, controls the image, owns the spotlight. Players were valuable, but replaceable. Perform, smile, sign, repeat. Sanders shattered that model in one bold stroke. He didn't come to be managed. He came to partner. And now, every rookie, every agent, every veteran who spent years building their brand under the league's shadow is watching. Because the second this contract leaked, the conversation transformed. Forget collective bargaining debates. Forget NIL chatter. The new question is simple. Why can't I have that? And that's the nightmare scenario for NFL brass. Because the prime equity clause isn't just disruptive, it's infectious. If this spreads, the NFL doesn't just lose control of branding, it loses control of its entire hierarchy of value. Players become their own economies. Teams can't just throw money. They'll need to offer partnerships, infrastructure, creative freedom, and the league will be forced to answer questions it never dreamed of confronting. What happens when the players become more influential than the league itself? Sanders' model mirrors global icons. LeBron James, who built production companies and media brands, Cristiano Ronaldo, whose personal social platforms out-earn entire clubs. Sanders' deal plants that same seed inside the NFL. And it's already sprouting. Here's the kicker. This didn't require years of union fights.
They crave the access, the raw personality, the authenticity. They don't want the NFL's polished, sterilized clips. They want Shedeur's story told through his voice, his lens, his terms. And if the league dares to cage that, it won't just lose ratings. It won't just lose merch revenue. It will lose relevance itself. Because this isn't merely about one quarterback, it's about an evolution. And Shedeur Sanders is that future. The NFL can resist it or ride it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit subscribe, and watch this revolution unfold, because what Shedeur just engineered is historic. Alright, let's break this down, because the deeper you dig, the wilder it becomes. We're not just talking about a clever rookie who spotted a loophole. We're talking about a first-year player who grasped the truth most athletes spend decades to understand. Ownership is everything. Own the narrative. Own the value. Own the leverage. Once you command that tour, not just playing the game, you're rewriting it. And that's what Shedeur Sanders just did. He walked into the world's most powerful sports league and flipped the table like it was his living room coffee table. He didn't politely request better terms. He didn't wait for permission. He dictated them. And what's truly chilling for the NFL at least is that he did it effortlessly. No scandals, no holdouts, no leaks, no courtroom drama. He walked in, laid out the blueprint, and said, "Here's how this is going to work." And the league said okay. That quiet approval of the prime equity clause, that was the sound of a dam bursting. Now agents are holding emergency meetings, college stars are rethinking their draft strategies. Veterans are texting their reps, asking, "Why didn't I get that clause?" And it's a fair question. For years, the league has fattened itself off players' talent, energy, and likeness. But Shedeur drew a line in the sand and declared, "Not anymore. Not without me getting my share." And let's not twist this. This isn't just about cash. This is about agency, autonomy, legacy. Shedeur isn't betting on a 10-year career. He's constructing a 50-year empire. He knows today's athletes aren't judged only by stats. They're measured by presence, story, and cultural impact. And for decades, the NFL has been expert at boxing players into roles that fit its brand. But what happens when the player becomes the brand? That's what Shedeur has accomplished. He's not just managing his NIL, he's controlling the medium. His Instagram, his YouTube, monetized, unfiltered, fully his. Sponsorship deals, direct-to-player, no league red tape, no PR cleanup crew required. Why? Because there's nothing to clean up. He's telling his story in real time to millions across platforms the NFL can't touch. The league, meanwhile, is lagging. For decades, they've enforced control with contracts, image management, and rigid structure. But Shedeur, he comes from a new school where personality isn't a liability, it's currency, and that awareness is priceless. You want proof of how seismic this shift is? Shedeur Sanders currently holds more influence on social media than entire NFL franchises. His engagement rates are astronomical. His vlogs outdraw most teen YouTube channels, and when he speaks, fans listen not because a corporate machine told them to, but because he's earned their trust directly. Here's the truth the NFL hates to admit. Influence equals leverage. In today's era, influence moves faster than legacy. You can have a Hall of Fame bust and still pull fewer clicks than a rookie filming a Q&A from a hotel room. And Shedeur gets that better than anyone in his class. He's not just winning inside the league, he's winning outside it too. But let's talk ripple effect, because this doesn't happen in isolation. The NFL may be a billion-dollar juggernaut, but it's a fragile one built on regulation and rigid control. The second players realize they don't need to surrender their rights to succeed, that they can go direct to consumer and drag the fan base with them. The whole foundation begins to tremble. Already, executives whisper containment strategy behind closed doors. Translation: How do we stop this Shedeur wildfire from spreading? But it's too late. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unsell freedom. And if the NFL tightens restrictions, they'll only expose themselves as what Shedeur deal revealed all along, a league afraid of evolution. And fans, they see it. They know it's a business. They recognize when a player is being boxed out. They're not buying the team first slogan anymore, especially not when one rookie just set the bar for what athlete empowerment truly looks like. This entire saga has made the league look outdated, rigid, reactive. Meanwhile, Shedeur is out here setting the terms, shaping his image, and stacking revenue before even playing a full regular season game. That's not just a flex. That's a blueprint. And it will spread like wildfire. You think college stars aren't watching. You think agents aren't highlighting that clause in neon. This is the new gold standard. The next few years are going to get fascinating. For decades, the NFL postured as the destination, the big stage, the final boss. But Shedeur and the wave behind him are flipping the script. The league is no longer the story, it's a chapter. These players are building platforms bigger, faster, and more global than the NFL ever imagined. And the league knows it. That's why they're furious. Because this isn't about money, it's about control. Control over the story. Control over the spotlight. Control over an ecosystem they thought would always belong to them. But that era just ended. But Shedeur, he doesn't crave their ecosystem. He's constructing his own one, where he owns the content, the narrative, the equity. And perhaps the most dangerous part, he's only just getting started. So, what happens when the next Shedeur walks in? Demanding the same. What happens when NIL, ownership, media control, and brand independence become standards, not outliers? What happens when rookies stop begging for a seat at the table and instead build their own tables? Here's what happens. The game changes forever. And the NFL, they either evolve or get left in the dust. Let's not sugarcoat this. It's a revolution and the NFL knows it. They can feel it. You can practically smell the panic rising through those glass towers on Park Avenue. Somewhere right now, a senior executive is staring at a PowerPoint titled Player Autonomy Risk Matrix, wondering how the most powerful sports league on earth just got outmaneuvered by a 21-year-old armed with a camera crew and a marketing vision. And the punchline. It's hilarious, because this isn't a fluke. This isn't luck. This is Shedeur Sanders executing a master plan that's been years in the making. He didn't just wake up one morning and stumble into becoming a brand. He engineered it by digital brick long before the NFL ever had a chance to slap a generic promo reel on his face. Let's rewind. Before the draft, while other rookies were posting gym selfies and humble bragging about grinding in silence, Shedeur was documenting everything. Not in some cringe influencer fashion, but in a deliberate, razor-sharp, I own my story kind of way. He knew exactly what the NFL would attempt shape him into a marketable caricature that fit their brand, their narrative, their machine. Shedeur isn't a character. He's the creator. That's the distinction the league never anticipated. They thought they signed a quarterback. What they got was an enterprise. A player who didn't ask, how do I fit into your system? But instead said, here's how my system works. You can either be part of it or not. And the wildest part, it's working. Sponsors are swarming. Merch is flying. He's got both mainstream media and internet culture eating out of his hand. Every time he posts even something as simple as walking into practice in a hoodie and shades, it detonates across platforms. Not because it's hype, not because it's just charisma, but because it's architecture. Brand architecture. And Shedeur is building it in real time with zero help from the NFL and with total ownership of every pixel. And the old guard. They're rattled. For decades, the NFL survived on one sacred truth. The shield is the star. Always. Players come and go. But the league remains eternal. They weathered scandals, strikes, protests, lawsuits, and still kept control of the narrative. Until now. Because now, the narrative lives outside their building. It lives in vlogs, in podcasts, in mixed-up moments that Shedeur himself releases. And that's power they can't claw back. And make no mistake, it's not potential anymore. It's not someday. It's now. There's a reason the NFL hasn't plastered Shedeur across its marketing machine. The way it has with past rookies. You know, the type quick flashes of brilliance, a few viral clips, then tucked neatly into the PR playbook. But with Shedeur, they're stuck. Because he's uncontrollable. Not reckless, not unstable, but unmanageable in the most dangerous way possible for a legacy empire. He doesn't need them. When was the last time the NFL had a top rookie they couldn't mold? Not just couldn't market, but couldn't own, rebrand, or filter. Shedeur strolls into Media Day already commanding a larger following than half the outlets covering him. He doesn't need to build chemistry with fans, it already exists. Why? Because he's been telling his story all along, without the league's permission, and that leaves the NFL staring down to impossible choices. Option A. Embrace it, adapt. Allow players to negotiate equity, NIL rights, and media autonomy. Share the spotlight. Surrender control. Option B. Clamp down. Pretend Shedeur is a one-off. Quietly warn teams not to entertain similar clauses. Circle the wagons. The problem: neither option saves them. Adapt, and they lose control. Resist, and they lose relevance. Let's unpack it. When critics like Tony Grossi implied Sanders was sabotaging his own stock by self-reporting soreness, Shedeur didn't blink. He corrected the record and crushed the spin casually, convincingly. And then came the hyperbole. Did you catch Mary Kay? Out there tweaking for headlines like she's parched for drama. No caption needed, just chaos. You can already see her shaping the next salacious spin. Look again. That's not reporting. That's desperation, in high heels. If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe. Shedeur Sanders is redefining QB1 energy on and off the field. The media thought they had him cornered. Polished agendas, loaded questions, sharpened like steak knives, all poised to carve up Shedeur with that classic setup. Some people say, followed by, are you possibly overhyped? The tone, patronizing. The trap, obvious. The result, an absolute meltdown for the media. One smug reporter fumbled into a question. That's pretty mature of you. I know it's hard to pull yourself from competition. Did you wrestle with the decision to self-report Sanders' response? Graceful, grounded, and loaded with layered conviction. Of course, it crossed my mind, but my father's voice stays in my head. Always. Boom, or blood. That's his motto. I didn't want to half-step it. I wanted to perform at my peak and give my teammates my best. That's what matters. And, just like that touchdown. But this wasn't some PR-approved monologue. This was authentic, smooth, strategic. Fireworks without a flame. Poise that whispered confidence, not arrogance. See, there's a special kind of delusion that overtakes sports media when they think they've got a young, unapologetic black quarterback in a trap. They mistake confidence for cockiness, swagger for ego, .com for inexperience, drip for distraction. But Shedeur, he shattered that illusion. Flipped the script, rewrote the narrative, and walked off like he just broke the fourth wall in a Scorsese film. He didn't spin damage control, he executed dominance. And the audacity that unmitigated Galavi's reporters to step up to a man they smeared, pretending like they hadn't tried to assassinate his character with speculation and spin. Mary Kay, Tony Grossi miss us with the tweaker energy. Stay focused. Stay respectful. Now back to the point. This wasn't even an injury. It was soreness from adjusting to new climate conditions. He'd been through worse at Colorado. Without missing time, it wasn't his decision to sit out. It was medical staff. And honestly, some of us believe it wasn't just Amit, was the higher-ups Barry Haslam. Sabotage in a suit. Yet Shedeur remained unshaken. No flinching, no stuttering, no missteps. He stood there like a general in a press war, his answers slicing through agendas like a scalpel through static. You could see the unease building behind the fake media smiles. Their scripts unraveling in real time as Sanders dismantled every setup with calm logic and steel-eyed clarity. What do you do when your target refuses to react? When your trap gets turned into a TED Talk, you freeze, you blink, you realize the rookie just took over the interview. How important are these joint practice reps to you? Every rep is sacred. Every time I step on that field, I treat it like it's my last. Guys we worked with last week. Some of them aren't even here anymore. This is about more than plays, it's about legacy. Mic drop. Every response was a smooth jab with knockout power. No yelling, no ego, just surgical dissection of weak narratives, dripping with subtle shade, and, wrapped in that signature Sanders chill. They came expecting fireworks. They got a solar eclipse. The lesson: never confuse polish with passivity. He's not here to be your headline, he's writing his own. While the press conference started tense, it ended with Shedeur sipping metaphorical electrolytes, while the media scrambled to rewrite their angles. Reporters came to humble him. They left humbled. Mics leaned back like they'd just witnessed a clinic. This wasn't improvisation. This was strategy. Precision. Legacy in motion. I'm not here to prove people wrong, he said. I'm here to prove myself right. And just like that he did, he was unfazed. Mentally anchored. All that outside noise, it didn't rattle him. It never does. That kind of chatter doesn't move the needle knot in his headspace. And the cherry on top. He delivered the entire performance with the poise of someone who had somewhere far more elite to be in 5 minutes. This wasn't just confidence. This was orchestrated composure swagger, executed with surgical timing. Shedeur Sanders didn't walk into that press conference. He glided in like it was a runway show for calculated dominance. No mic drop necessary. His aura was the mic, and you could practically see the synapses misfiring in the minds of the reporters. They tossed curveballs and Shedeur treated them like slow-pitch charity tosses. Every passive-aggressive jab returned with a smirk that said, "Bless your heart for trying." No panic, no stumble, no hesitation. Just a calm, unwavering tone. The voice of a quarterback who's not only reading defenses but reading the press box too. This wasn't a press conference, it was an exhibition, a graceful dismantling of lazy narratives dressed up as journalism. Every answer delivered like it came footnoted with clarity, depth, and a side of truth serum. He wasn't just answering, He was correcting the syllabus. They came armed with bait. He came armed with blueprints and receipts. He didn't raise his voice once, just a well-timed pause, a laser-focused gaze, and that unspoken message. I know exactly what you're trying to do. And let's not act like this is the first time someone tried to gift-trap a scandal and toss it his way like a birthday surprise. But this time, the grenade didn't explode. It smiled, dropped a quote, and left the room calmly detonating every assumption the media walked in with. One reporter tried the classic setup. Where do you feel you've grown the most? On the field or off? His answer, mentally numbered, question. Doesn't matter whether the media spins things positively or negatively. I'm just not the same as I was in college. I treat people with respect. Even when they hate me for reasons they can't explain, I stay grounded. Boom. They came for mistakes. He gave them maturity. They came for fumbles. He delivered finesse. See, the media thrives on manufacturing narratives, especially when they see a young, articulate quarterback with generational pedigree and undeniable charisma existing without apology. So they show up with leading questions, pre-baked doubt, and the faint hope of cracking his poise for a spicy soundbite. But what they ran into? A chess master at a checkers convention. Some critics say you haven't proven anything yet. How do you respond? Most young athletes trip over that one. Either they overreact, or they shrink back and give the company line. Now he offered a smile, polite but lethal, and served up a response, so clean it could have passed a white glove test. He didn't just neutralize the narrative. He flipped it, reflected it, sent it spinning back into the void from which it came now, wearing a towel over its head like it just got cooked in a playoff game, unshakable. That's not a fluke. That's the product of a lifetime under pressure that would have cracked most people by now. But Shedeur, he's been molded by fire. And if there was ever doubt, let his parents remind you, he's always been prepared. There was never a day he walked into a room unready. And here's the best part. He didn't need to posture. No rolled eyes. No forced bravado. Just deliberate words and perfectly timed pauses. What he delivered wasn't a rebuttal, it was a masterclass in strategic restraint. By the time they realized they were being outmaneuvered, he was already halfway through his Gatorade and dapping up teammates. The cameras were still rolling, but the storyline had already turned inside out. They came for controversy. They left with clarity. What Shedeur delivered was an attitude, it was altitude. He elevated the entire room just by staying rooted in self-awareness, because being young doesn't mean being naive. And having confidence, that doesn't mean carelessness. It means you know who you are, and you refuse to let someone else Photoshop you into their flawed storyline. And those press room faces, oh, priceless. You could hear the internal scripts collapsing. Wait, this isn't how it was supposed to go. Reporters shuffled notes like they were looking for an escape hatch. Eyebrows raised. Mics leaned back. The game plan was dead. Shedeur didn't just answer questions, he rewrote the format. He steered every trap question back to truth, like a GPS rerouting a lost driver.